Today's lesson, conjugate acid-base pair in the light of Bronsted-Lowry acid-base concept. In this lesson, we are going to learn Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases, conjugate acid, conjugate base, and finally conjugate acid-base pair. So let's begin. First of all, let's see which compounds are Bronsted-Lowry acids and which are Bronsted-Lowry bases. Bronsted-Lowry acids are hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, etc. And Bronsted-Lowry bases are ammonia, water, etc. Now let's see the definition of Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases. The hydrogen containing compounds that can donate protons are called Bronsted-Lowry acids, and Bronsted-Lowry bases are the compounds that can accept protons produced from Bronsted-Lowry acids are called Bronsted-Lowry bases. Now let's focus on the ions produced from acids after donating protons. First of all, let's consider the hydrochloric acid. After donating protons, chloride ion is formed, and for ammonia is a kind of Bronsted-Lowry base. It accepts proton and ammonium ion is formed. So from Bronsted-Lowry acid, this anion is formed. In case of hydrochloric acid, the anion is chloride ion, and for ammonia, ammonium ion is formed. Now let's see the nature of ions produced from Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases after losing protons and after gaining protons. So now the point is nature of ions produced from Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases. Now let's see some reactions to understand the nature of ions produced from Bronsted-Lowry acids and bases. First of all, let's see a reaction between hydrochloric acid and ammonia. This is hydrochloric acid and this is ammonia, which is gaseous in state. When the reaction is moving forward, then hydrochloric acid is a kind of Bronsted-Lowry acid. It donates proton, and ammonia is a kind of Bronsted-Lowry base. It accepts proton. After donating proton, hydrochloric acid becomes chloride ion, and after receiving proton, ammonia becomes ammonium ion. Since ammonia is a kind of weak base, the reaction will move backward, and when the reaction is moving backward, then this ammonium ion acts as Bronsted-Lowry acid. That is why it donates proton, and chloride ion acts as Bronsted-Lowry base. That is why it will receive that proton. After releasing proton, ammonium ion becomes ammonia, and after receiving proton, chloride ion becomes hydrochloric acid. So when the reaction is moving forward, then hydrochloric acid is proton donor, so this is Bronsted-Lowry acid, and ammonia is proton acceptor, so this is Bronsted-Lowry base. When the reaction is moving backward, this is proton donor, so this is Bronsted-Lowry acid, and chloride ion is proton acceptor, so this is Bronsted-Lowry base. Now, chloride ion is a kind of base which is produced from hydrochloric acid. That means chloride ion is related to hydrochloric acid or connected to hydrochloric acid, or simply we can tell chloride ion is conjugate to hydrochloric acid. That is why chloride ion is a kind of conjugate base of hydrochloric acid. Similarly, this acid, ammonium ion, which is formed from the base ammonia. That is why this ammonium ion is related to ammonia or conjugate to ammonia. That is why this is conjugate acid of the base ammonia. Now let's see the definition of conjugate acid. Ammonium ion is a kind of conjugate acid. Definition is the acid which is formed from base after gaining proton is called conjugate acid of that base. And conjugate base definition is the base which is formed from acid after releasing proton is called conjugate base of that particular acid. That means chloride ion is conjugate base of hydrochloric acid and ammonium ion is conjugate acid of base ammonia. So this is conjugate acid and this is conjugate base. Conjugate acid is formed from base and conjugate base is formed from acid after releasing and after receiving protons. Now let's see the conjugate acid base pair. Here ACl is a kind of Bronsted-Lowry acid and chloride ion is a kind of conjugate base of this acid. So this pair, the pair of hydrochloric acid and chloride ion, this pair is called conjugate acid base pair. So here hydrochloric acid and chloride ion is a conjugate acid base pair. Again, ammonia and ammonium ion, this pair is a kind of conjugate acid base pair. This is conjugate acid, this is base. This pair is conjugate acid base pair. Now the reaction between hydrogen sulfide and ammonia. Hydrogen sulfide which is in aqueous solution, that is hydrosulfuric acid, and ammonia which is gaseous. This is Bronsted-Lowry acid, it will donate proton, and ammonia is a kind of Bronsted-Lowry base, it will accept proton. After releasing proton, it becomes hydrosulfide ion and ammonia becomes ammonium ion. When the reaction is moving forward, this is electron donor, Bronsted-Lowry acid. This is electron acceptor, Bronsted-Lowry base. When the reaction is moving backward, this is proton acceptor, this is base, and this is proton donor, this is acid. But this base is related to this acid, that is why this is conjugate base of hydrosulfuric acid, and this acid is related to this base. That is why this is conjugate acid of base ammonia. Here conjugate acid base pairs are hydrosulfuric acid and hydrosulfide ion. This acid and this conjugate base is conjugate acid base pair, and ammonia is a kind of base and ammonium ion is a kind of conjugate acid of this base. So this pair is another conjugate acid base pair. Now the reaction is between nitrous acid and water. This is nitrous acid and water. Nitrous acid, water, liquid. When the reaction is moving forward, this is acid, proton donor, this is Bronsted-Lowry base, proton acceptor, and after releasing proton it becomes nitrite ion, and water becomes a hydronium ion after gaining proton in aqueous solution. When the reaction is moving backward, then it releases proton and nitrite ion gains that proton. So here nitrous acid is electron donor, so this is acid, Bronsted-Lowry acid. Water is proton acceptor, so this is Bronsted-Lowry base at the time of forward reaction. And when the reaction is moving backward, then this is proton donor, so this is acid, and this acid is conjugate to water, this base, so this is conjugate acid of base water, and this base is related to this acid, so this is conjugate base of nitrous acid. Now let's see conjugate acid base pair. This is acid and its conjugate base is nitrite ion. So this acid and this conjugate base is conjugate acid base pair in this reaction, and this is Bronsted-Lowry base, and hydronium ion is conjugate acid of this base. So this pair is another conjugate acid base pair, like this pair. This is all about conjugate acid base pair according to Bronsted-Lowry concept. No more today. Thank you very much.